I remember the night perfectly. It was 3 a.m. and my rescue pup Buster was barking at absolute nothingness again. My neighbors left a passive-aggressive note the next day. I felt terrible, but finding a fix was worse. Most collars felt cruel, flimsy, or overly complicated. I spent hundreds figuring out what actually works without traumatizing the dog. Well, I finally found the answer. Today, I'm counting down the top 5 bark collars. If you want sleep and happy neighbors, here's what matters. Stick around because number 1 changed everything for us. 5. PetSafe Basic Bark Control Collar. I mean, when you first start frantically searching for a solution to your dog's barking, this is usually the very first one that pops up. It is a classic in the dog training world, and I grabbed one thinking it would be an easy, straightforward fix. The collar itself feels fairly well made out of the box, and the nylon strap is easy enough to adjust to your dog's neck size. The way this collar works is completely automatic, which sounds great in theory. You just put it on the dog, turn it on, and let it do its thing. It senses the vibration of your dog's vocal cords when they bark. I will say the sensor is actually pretty accurate. I stood right next to Buster and clapped loudly, and well, it didn't go off. It really does only trigger when the dog wearing it actually barks, which gave me some peace of mind at first. But here is where the reality of testing it set in and where things get a bit frustrating. The collar uses static correction, and it has 6 levels. It starts at the lowest level when the dog barks, and if they keep barking within 30 seconds, it bumps up to the next level. You know, for a really stubborn dog, they just bark right through those low levels until they get zapped with a higher setting. It feels like you have absolutely zero control over the training process. SportDOG NoBark 10 Bark Control Collar. SportDOG is generally a category for hunting and heavy-duty outdoor working dogs. I picked this one up because I thought, hey, if it works for a high-energy hunting dog, it should easily handle my dog barking at the mailman. Straight away, you notice the build quality. This thing is practically indestructible and completely waterproof. I actually tested the waterproof claim when Buster decided to take a spontaneous dive into a muddy creek in our local park. I pulled him out, wiped the mud off the collar, and it was still working perfectly. The durability is honestly top tier. It uses a dual sensor system, meaning it needs to detect both the vibration of the vocal cords and the actual sound of the bark to trigger corrections. I really appreciated that dual sensor because it eliminates false corrections entirely. A loud truck driving by or another dog barking right in his face will never set this collar off. However, the collar relies strictly on static correction, offering 10 different levels. You can set it to a specific level or use their progressive mode, which slowly climbs the ladder if the barking continues. But, you know, there is a pretty massive downside here for the average dog owner. This collar is incredibly bulky. I mean, it is heavy. When I put it on my medium-sized rescue, he looked instantly uncomfortable. His head hung a little lower and the massive box on his throat just looked entirely out of place for a house pet. 3. PatteSage Bark Control Collar. This is where we start seeing a real shift in how these devices handle training. I was genuinely surprised by this one because it steps away from the heavy static shocks and focuses heavily on vibration and sound. When I first pulled it out of the package, the sleek, lightweight design was a massive breath of fresh air compared to the bulky SportDOG. The dogs honestly do not even notice they are wearing this until it activates. The nylon strap is soft and the main unit sits flush against the neck without dragging their head down. I slipped it onto Buster and he immediately went about his day completely unbothered. It is fully rechargeable too, which instantly solves the annoying battery headache I had with the PetSafe model. What really won me over with the PatteSage is the warning system. It always gives a warning beep before applying any vibration. You know, it is amazing how quickly a dog learns just from a simple audio cue. After just 2 days of wearing it, Buster would start to bark, hear that little beep, and immediately close his mouth. He figured out the sequence incredibly fast. The sensitivity settings are another huge plus. It has a tiny dial that lets you adjust how easily the microphone picks up noise. Whether your dog has a high-pitched yap or a deep booming woof, you can dial it in perfectly so it only triggers when it's supposed to. 2. DogRook Dog Bark Collar. I absolutely love the philosophy behind this product. If you are entirely against the idea of static shock in any form, this is the collar you need to be looking at. It relies 100% on beep and vibration to get your dog's attention, and it does it incredibly well. It features 7 progressive levels of sound and vibration. When your dog barks the first time, it just emits a warning sound. If they keep barking, the sound gets a bit longer, and then the vibrations kick in, getting progressively stronger. I tested this right as the delivery guy walked up our driveway. Buster let out a bark, heard the beep, barked again, felt the vibration, and literally stopped mid-growl, looking completely confused. Beyond the functionality, the DogRook is actually quite stylish. I know that sounds weird for a dog training tool, but it comes with interchangeable colored faceplates. It looks less like a rigid correction device and more like a fun pet accessory. The prongs that sit against the neck are also covered in soft silicone, so it never rubs your dog's skin raw, even if they wear it all day long. The battery life on this unit is simply outstanding. I charged it up fully using the included cable, and it lasted nearly 2 weeks before I had to plug it back in. Not having to worry about swapping batteries or charging it every single night is a massive convenience. TrainTail Bark Collar. Let me explain why this specific collar completely ended my dog's 3 a.m. barking habit and gave me my sanity back. It combines everything good about the previous collars on this list and fixes every single problem I had with them. From the moment I strapped it on Buster, I knew this was a completely different tier of product. The real magic of the TrainTail is the holy trinity of options. It gives you beep, vibration, and an optional shock feature. You have total, absolute control. For the first week, I just used the beep and vibration modes, and it worked beautifully for the mailman. But when Buster got hyper-fixated on a raccoon outside our fence, I was able to toggle on a very low static correction to gently break his intense focus. The smart chip inside this collar is easily the best I have tested. I took Buster to a crowded dog park just to see if it would accidentally trigger. With 5 other dogs barking their heads off right next to him, the collar stayed completely silent. It genuinely only responds to the specific vibration and sound combination of the dog actually wearing it. The false trigger rate is 0. Another massive advantage is the clear digital display on the front of the collar. You know exactly what mode you're in, what sensitivity level is set, and precisely how much battery is left. There are no guessing games with tiny blinking lights that you have to decode with a manual.